Welcome to Real Estate Success DFW, the podcast where top producing agents from Dallas-Fort Worth come together to share their stories and strategies behind their success. I'm Shaune Corbett, your host, and with over 300 million sold in the local real estate market and the honor of being best at B multiple times, I know what it takes to make it in this market. Each episode, we're going to dive into the world of real estate, learning from the very best in the industry. If you're ready to level up your game, you're in the right place. Let's get started. Hey everyone, Shaune Corbett here with Real Estate Success DFW, and I've got a superstar with me. Her name is Rosemary, and she is a superstar on social media. She's got a ton of subscribers, and she's really built a really big opportunity on the social media space, including especially YouTube, which is the one I think a lot of us want to try to engage and do, because YouTube is particularly special. And I'll let her kind of tell you why she thinks it's special, because I've already pre-asked her some of these questions. So how are you, Rosemary?
I am good, Shaune. Thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I appreciate you greatly.
And you call yourself the real estate bestie?
Yep. I am the real estate bestie.
She's got it in the background in case you forget. I'll tell you a little bit. I do want to kind of break the ice a little bit, because she and I have already talked, and I love her story. It's really impactful for people in real estate. Everyone comes to real estate all different ways. She's probably a lot like me. I don't know how I ended up in real estate, but that's where I'm at, and I'm here to do God's will here, right? So for Rosemary, she's built such a presence online, and she's created such an opportunity to connect with her fellow besties. And that's her real estate partners all over the US that have really dialed into the product and programs that she's put together. And she's built such a network that she's actually done a weekend retreat for real estate agents that share a common faith and are also in real estate trying to build their business and make this their primary business and focus. And she's done a retreat, and most of the people that came to her local retreat, she and I are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, which is my podcast target. They've come all over the country, and many of them aren't even from the local area, which is incredibly awesome for that. It's a good testimonial to where her outreach has been, and it's been incredibly impactful. I think it's a fantastic story.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yes, God has been really faithful in that.
So I know that's been a real important, but I'll let you tell a little bit how you got into real estate, and because you haven't been doing it for too long, as much success as you've had. I think you said 2017? 2017. That's a really short amount of time to build the volume and the impact and all the things that you have going for you. So if you want to share a little bit about how you got into real estate and kind of what made you realize that you wanted to shift from doing it maybe the way other people do it to doing it the way that really is called what you're called to do.
Yeah. Okay. I have a confession. So I have been this bout of real estate. I started in 2017, and I've been full-time ever since then. But the real story, look, we're friends, we're besties now, is he wasn't my husband, he was my boyfriend back then. My boyfriend started flipping houses. We're originally from Chicago. And the year that I graduated, around the time I graduated college back in 2004, he wanted me to get my real estate license, because what a lot of investors want to do, they want to save on the bottom line.
Absolutely.
So his thought process was, hey, you get your license, you list the houses, we get to save some money. And I was like, sure, no worries. Well, what ended up happening then is that our plan worked, but we were also at that age where our friends were getting married and looking to buy houses, this was also when it was really easy to get a mortgage. I ended up having more real estate business, but here's the shocker. I didn't want it. My heart wasn't in it. I was really doing it because of my guy. So when the recession happened and he lost a lot of property, at the time I was an elementary school teacher. I was like, great, we're done with this, right? Like, we tried our hand at the entrepreneurial thing, and now we can just go and have regular jobs. We can have steady income, security, right? I was thinking safety, security. And yeah, that's just not the way it ended up rolling for us. So fast forwarding, my husband, when he became my husband, got back into flipping. We ended up relocating to Dallas from Chicago. And as we are here, I'm teaching, he's doing real estate on the investment side, but there just seemed to be something in his business that was missing, right? And we knew that what was missing was my skill set. But again, I want safety. I want security. I want to be consistent. Like, I know that entrepreneurship is just, it's not a guaranteed thing. And then I had all the trauma from when the recession happened. But I literally was at church one Sunday in 2016. It was in December of 2016. And my pastor was preaching about obedience. And long story short, he was telling the story about how Abraham was told to sacrifice Isaac, and he kept talking about immediate obedience. And I heard the Holy Spirit say to me in that moment, go help. I cannot tell you, Shaune, how I knew what go help meant, but I knew that I was supposed to go and get my real estate license. And I told my husband on the way home. Now, meanwhile, he'd been begging me for years to stop teaching, the stress of it, the stress of what it for our families. He just felt like I was gifted in other ways. But again, I'm nervous. I want safety. And I told him that I wanted to get my license. He did not respond. He was silent as a church mouse on the way home, which frustrated me because I'm like, dude, I finally want to join you and you don't even want to acknowledge it. Well,
He probably was like, I don't want to get back into that again.
what he didn't want to do is mess it up. So he came home, didn't say a word, registered for me for classes at Champion School of Real Estate. And he showed me like the registration, and that began my full-time career in real estate. I decided if I passed the test, because I really felt like this was God pulling me into this space. If I passed the test, I would put in my resignation for teaching. We did not have savings. I did not have a plan, but I did it scared. Did it a little stupid too, but did it scared. And now I'm here. Started off in 2017. I was on a team for a brief stint, then went on to be a solo agent. And
let's hold on right there. Let's hold on.
Okay.
Right there.
Okay.
I like it. You got some nuggets in here. We're passing. So we'll get to the team part in a moment. So you had a license in Illinois.
Yep.
And you were doing, it's very common, right? I know you know other people, they get their license, they're investors, and they want to save the commission on that. I would say I probably do about 30, 40 investor type deals a year. I've gotten pretty heavy in the off-market space and some of that. But I do understand that component, and I give them a reasonable deal that they don't want to compete with me, so they don't have to hassle with any of it. So most of them just keep calling me back, and I keep that round table. And it's cool because I can sell houses 100% on text. Never look at it. Never have. I don't have to talk about it. You know what the deals are. Here's the numbers. If it's a yes, okay, I'll sell it, and we'll close it in 2 weeks. And it's pretty slick where you're able to do that, which most real estate takes a lot of hands-on attention.
Exactly.
So, and I was there selling real estate. I got my license in 2005. I absolutely remember 2008, 2009 up to 2010, 11. And it was a disastrous time. I was not flipping at the time. I got into flipping a little later. I did about 100 flips here in Dallas, Fort Worth. And then I got out of all of that. Now I coach and educate people in the flipping space. So we have that in common. And I do appreciate hearing you describe and talk about teaching really sets home with me because my wife is a teacher. And there is a security element, and she doesn't want to let go of that security for sure. She won't come into real estate with me, but I want to do well enough to bring her home because it's getting harder and more stressful, more demands, less kid relationships, which is why you get into teaching. You want to have kid relationships, but they suck all the joy out of that. And then you're teaching to data and all these type of things. It's just not, it loses its energy and excitement, but you have the safety. So for you to walk away from that, it's incredible.
Yeah, I was going to say you have the safety, but then what started to happen to me is I didn't have energy for my own children.
Yeah.
Right. So I was pouring into other people's kids all day, but I had to recognize that while I loved it, it was time for me to shift. And I love the idea, but I wasn't bringing my best self. And I would always think to myself, you know what? If I were my kid's teacher, I think that they deserve to have somebody who is sold out 100% here. And because I was starting to feel myself shift, that's why I leaned into where God was pulling me out.
Totally relate. My wife is definitely exhausted every day. I do the majority of the cooking and taking the kids to the events and dressing them in the morning because she's got so much commitment to teaching. I mean, I can totally relate. So if you can find a way, unfortunately, to exit, I hate that we have that place, right? So teaching is almost like only good for about 8 to 10 years, and then you need to do something else because it'll eat you up pretty quick. And everyone says it doesn't pay enough for the amount of time, energy, and effort you put into it, and it certainly doesn't. But that's not going to get any better anytime soon, unfortunately. All right.
Yeah.
So we got through that. Now we joined a big box brokerage, and then you joined a team within that space. Is that
Yes.
okay? So
Yes.
you're on
So
the team.
I started solo, and then I was like, it's just a lot that I don't know. I was getting a couple
Yeah.
deals, but flubbing a lot of opportunities. And truth be told, I was hesitant to go on a team because of ego, right? Because I wanted to build a business around my name and not build somebody else's brand. But I had to be honest with myself to say, you know what? I need coaching, I need accountability, and I need lead flow. And what's going to fast track me? I don't even think I was thinking success. I was thinking so I don't fail, right? It was like the fear of failure is what pushed me to the team. And I was a part of a team for about a year and a half.
Okay. So you did that, and then from that space, why did you leave the team?
I really outgrew the opportunity
Yeah.
is the best answer that I have. There were a few dynamics that shifted. So much respect for my time there, so much respect for the team leader, but it just became evident that I had outgrown it. And honestly, I looked at after my first full year of being with the team, because I came in like at the end of the year, then I had a full year with them. I closed something like 34 deals, and the team was big on internet marketing. And about half of the deals that I closed came from their internet marketing source, right? So similar to Zillow leads, but not Zillow leads. But then the other half were from my sphere, from social media, from networking, my friends and family. And I literally made a T chart at the end of the year, and I put a happy face and a sad face. And I was like, which of these client experiences, deals was I happy, like what gave me joy? And which ones were just tougher, right? And not necessarily tougher because of people, but because they were internet leads. Like I live north, I live in the Prosper area. I had like so much work in Fort Worth and Arlington and all of these different areas that I could technically support, but it took me so far away from my family. And I felt like with the internet leads, it just was a different type of relationship building than it was from the people that I was building and nurturing my sphere. And I figured out like, okay, if I'm going to stay and have longevity in this business, I have to figure out how to get more of this business on the happy side, on the joyful side. And that was part of why I left, because when I looked at it, I was like, well, the joyful side is majority leads that I generated myself. So, Rosemary, what does it look like to generate leads on this side?
Which is actually how I connected with you. I was working out in the morning and I was trying to find a podcast. I wasn't actually looking for a pod. I didn't realize Audible had podcasts. And I looked up Sphere of Influence and you landed in there. And I was like, oh, I'll listen to this. It's 28 minutes or something like that while I'm working out. So I listened to the whole thing and I said, I need to connect with her. And I realized that you were here in the area. And I was like, so I just called you. I said, hey, let's have a talk.
Yep.
I love what you're doing. You've got a really explosive business and you've got this crazy online presence. Let's see how we can maybe work together. And it turned into this opportunity where you're able to jump on a podcast with me, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you for that.
I'm grateful too. I'm grateful to be here.
So you decided you outgrew it, and then you moved past that. Did you stay within the brokerage and run a solo agent, or did you move on to a different brokerage?
No, I stay within the brokerage because the brokerage still worked for me. So I've been in the same brokerage since 2000. My first year, I went to 4 brokerages. Within not even my first year, probably the first 6 months, I was in 4 different brokerages, and then I ended up where I am, and I've been at the same brokerage since 2018.
So this is real important. When you were talking about sphere of influence, this is what I really wanted to kind of hone in on. We all have a different kind of purpose and reason on sphere of influence. I didn't realize we did. Mm-hmm. I didn't look at sphere of influence as I liked those clients more. I didn't even think about it that way. What I didn't want to happen is that people that were in my immediate sphere of influence did not even consider reaching out to help them with the buyers. And it happened a number of times. And I'll sell 100 houses a year. And I think everybody knows I sell real estate. No, they don't. I never talk about real estate with any of my fans, friends, Facebook, never. And use don't be what do you call it? A top secret agent?
A secret agent. Don't be a secret agent.
Yeah. So you said, don't be a secret agent. And I wanted people to reach out because I didn't put it in their face all the time. And that's the way I kept this mentality.
Yep.
And it dawned on me when I was working, I had one neighbor that I had a good relationship with. I helped them do some really restructuring real estate financing, and they were able to take money out and go buy an investment property. And then they end up they had a life change, went to an open house and signed a buyer rep with another agent. And I said, why in the world did you do that? I just had you refinance your house to go buy other houses. And they said, oh, I thought you were an investor. I didn't know you sold real estate. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yep.
And I said, this is never happening again. So I started reading and studying about sphere of influence. So my purpose on sphere of influence is that I want to make sure I'm top of mind in the right way.
Yep.
Right. We don't want to be blasting everyone every day. You're going to look to buy, sell, or whatever. But there's nice ways and easy ways to do it. So I'm glad that that's kind of where we had that common space. And I love to hear your motivation and drive to do it versus where I was thinking about going with it.
Yeah, I think for me, it literally did start with that T chart because I was feeling like burnout that first year. And I was like, if it continues like this, I'm not going to be in the business long. So let me just start with like, what business did I like to do? And when I did that T chart, I then said, okay, well, where did these people come from? And it was like an aha, like, oh, even if I didn't have a direct relation, like I can say, oh, this was my cousin and but maybe this was the girl that I worked out with that saw me posting about real estate, even though I don't work out at that place anymore. She got back in contact with me because she saw my Facebook post. So there was some 2 to 3 degree of separation from the deals that I actually enjoyed the most. And then I was like, okay, so what do I need to do to get more of this business? And then I just think that for me, this is all about relationship building. Like I tell my people, even in my consultations, be very careful if you hire me, because if you decide to hire me, you decide we're a good fit, I'm going to be your forever real estate bestie, your homegirl for life, right? So we're going to continue to build upon that relationship. So what I found is like within my sphere, 9 times out of 10, they lived where I live. They work where I work. They play where I play. So not only did I enjoy the actual transactions better because we have more commonalities, I feel like I'm more resourceful for them because I truly understand exactly where they are living. I understand the investment a little better. I know where the target is. I know what's coming down the street. I've been to the school board meeting. I can speak to the different programs. So I just have also felt that by marketing to the SOI, and of course, it's starting to expand. I have my own team now, but it just positions me to be more resourceful. And if I had to point to one word of what I think really has built my sphere, it is to be a resource beyond the sale and before the sale, right? Because they're my client before they know they're my client, because I'm establishing trust with them long before that with the amount of resources that I'm sharing. So I think that's my purpose, is to just be a light where God has already given me authority and dominion, and just starting from there.
So on the sphere of influence, what would you describe as, what does that word mean? What does that word mean to you? Do you have a specific, unique way of considering what's in it, what's not in it?
Anybody in my circle. I think that's
you
the way.
talked about common places you play, you eat. So you're talking logistically is a focus for you. But what about friends, family, and Chicago?
They're my sphere. Yeah. So
that's still your circle.
They're in my circle. So if we are in connection in some sort of way, and I'm happy that you're bringing that up, because even with the agents that I coach, they might be like, oh, if I tell them to make calls to your sphere. Well, I live in North Carolina now, and everybody I know is in Texas. You never know when somebody in Texas is going to be moving to North Carolina, or who they know that might be moving. So yes, I'm touching, like, if you are in relationship with me, that is what in some sort of relationship, that's what I'm considering my sphere. So it's from my Chicago peeps to the besties that are in other parts of the country, to, of course, my hyper local market, like my hyper local people. But anybody that I am in direct, like they're in my orbit some kind of way, I consider you to be in my sphere.
It's a good place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever I was doing my research, I wanted to kind of define some of the terms because I didn't want it real loose. And one of the ways they described it is people that know you by first name and you know them by first name.
Yeah.
And then I consider that as a primary. And then you can go beyond that. I have a secondary, which means I've got kids that play on the soccer team and I know all the parents, but I don't really know all the parents.
Exactly.
But I like to maybe stay in front of them somehow, because we've talked a little bit about real estate and things. So that's the way I kind of think about. And I took it from a book. I might have mentioned the book when we talked. Brian Eisenhower, he wrote Sphere of Influence for Real Estate Agents specifically.
Okay.
And if I haven't, just text me and I'll text you the Audible link.
Yeah. Perfect.
So he really kind of defines that. And that help that for me, it makes it, I wouldn't say objectifiable. I don't want to make it too clinical, but it makes it so I can get my hands around it.
Yeah.
No, what's really in it, what's not.
And I think there are different ways to market to your quote unquote sphere, right? So I like the extended part of the second part of the definition, because yeah, if I'm making direct calls, then it's the people who I know their names. But one thing about it, I also think like, how can I grow my sphere? So in growing your sphere and becoming what some people call 5 mile famous, there are some girls in our that talk about
Girls
that.
with grit.
Girls were great. Yep, I've spoken on their stage before. I'm actually speaking at their event they're having in April. But what I have learned, or what one thing about growing it is like, when you get really good at marketing to your sphere, is growing at a pace that is outpacing the activity that you have. So that's one reason why I decided I made very intentional effort, and I make very intentional effort on showing up on social media. Now that's my passive lead generation activity, but I do very specific things on social media, because like, I'm here talking to you. There's somebody watching a video, right? There's somebody who I'm growing relationship with that I don't really know. And I'm going to be in HEB one day. And so I literally, it happened to me the other day. We were at Hutchins Barbecue, me and my husband, and someone walked up to me and she kind of looked familiar. And she was like, "You're the bestie. You're the real estate bestie. Hey girl." And she's talking to me like she knows me. I don't know her. But to her, I'm in her sphere. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So she's a part of my warm audience, right? So that was an opportunity for me to exchange phone numbers with her. So now I'm moving her up into the stratosphere. But because of the things that we're doing intentionally to grow our network, she came up to me as opposed to me awkwardly going up to her.
I love that. Let's talk about a couple specific things. The sphere of influence. You systematize, I assume, the whole program to make sure you stay in front of everyone the right amount of time. Is that a fair statement?
I do have what I think I don't know who started it, but the DTD2 schedule, where you have a certain amount of like letters that you call per week, so that you're having actual touches to everybody every single week. I send out a weekly newsletter to everyone. So if you are my girlfriend, I'm going to ask you for your email address if you want to get my weekly newsletter, where I share local, I call it my Friday favorites. And every single week I share it's either local activities, but it also can be like, hey, I just finished this great book. Last week I read, what book did I read? Be Your Future Self Now, right? I'm prepping for the new year. So I shared my book in the link. I share who did my Christmas tree. I'm doing things every single week to touch. Then everyone in my sphere, they're also getting to know me as the problem I think most people have is that have friends, but we're afraid to bridge that gap to what we do for work. So all of my friends, if they bought with me or not, they're going to get a monthly market report from me to keep up with what's happening in their home value. So you think about that. They're getting the phone call once a quarter. Whenever I see them in person, they're getting the weekly email, they're getting the monthly market report, and I am actively engaging with them on social media. So on social media, if I post something and let's just say the kid's mom comments to say, "Oh, I love this. Your dog is so cute." I'm not gonna comment to her on the post. I may, but I'm for sure, if I have her phone number, I'm gonna call her. I'm gonna send her a video text. I'm gonna slide in her DMs. I'm doing things to extend and make this way stronger engagement.
And then it kind of like them making a comment gives you a little bit of invite. Yep. I like that nudge. I've not thought of it at that level, but any opportunity you can pick up the phone and not talk real estate.
Yep.
Just talk about, hey, thanks for making that comment on my dog. I was going to tell you a little bit more backstory on that.
Yeah. Or I look to see what's going on with them. Hey girl, I saw you commented and I saw that Dudley is now 14. Where did the time go? I remember when they were just playing T-ball. What y'all been up to?
Yeah. Yeah. It creates an opportunity to create that engagement. There's nothing more powerful than a phone call.
Nothing.
Especially when it doesn't have anything to do with real estate, because that puts you as much of a top of mind as anything. And inevitably, I'll bet probably like 1 in 10 of those calls, hey, by the way, my sister needs to sell. Or by the way, it happens pretty often, and you don't have to ask for it.
I don't have to ask for it. Or they'll say, because again, it's like a trifecta. They're getting my email. So, hey, because at the end of every email, I always have a house, one of our listings, our open houses, like that is always the last thing. So if it's just, and I got your email, that house, I clicked it, blah, 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 our house. What do you think about this? So in some type of way, it becomes a real estate related conversation. And if they don't take it there, I take it there, but not in a salesy way. Like, how's everything going at the house?
Yeah, there's ways to not be in their face about it. You do a weekly newsletter. I'm doing monthly. And I haven't even thought about what would it look like to do weekly. Do you do it all yourself? Do you like a newsletter building program and you just put it together and send it out? How do you do it?
Yeah, absolutely not. I do not do it myself. I have my admin does it. So I like to make it very hyper personal to me and what I
Organic.
like. So like throughout the week, what I do is I just send her links. Like if me and my husband go eat something, I'll snap a picture. I just notice what I'm doing in the area, and I don't assume that everybody knows about this thing. So it could be very basic stuff, but I'm sending her links and pictures and she builds it. And then I go in and I approve it. And then I always add like a personal narrative to introduce the newsletter. But no, because I tried to do it on my own. I don't have the bandwidth to do it on my own. So it just works to have my admin, and she knows. And we talk on Tuesdays about what I want. For the most part, we're like 2 weeks ahead, but we talk about what I want to go in the newsletter. She sends it to me a couple days in advance to proof and add my part.
It's fantastic. That's a lot. And you've got it down to the minimum, what you need to put in to make it work without having to do the extra cost of your time.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's all your touches. It's still all coming from you. I think that's fantastic. Your touch system's fantastic. If you touch enough times per year, inevitably you'll get referrals, not just the direct opportunities, and that does build. Do you separate your sphere of influence? Do you have a primary, secondary, or you just kind of put everyone that's in your touch system, they all get it?
They all get it. Yeah. Just because like it might be more efficient if I did split it, but like I'm naturally not wired like that to be very systematic. So they all get it. And that's just it. Like, because the whole, like I'm the real estate bestie. So no matter if we went to high school together and you live in Dallas now, or I met you last week at church, we're giving bestie vibes, right? So I'm not separating the level of touch that I give anybody just because I'm just not that savvy.
Do they at least need to be here locally? Do you still send stuff to people in Chicago?
Okay, so that is a great question. I have given the option for people to be like, so some people get to opt in. First of all, everyone has to opt into your list, right? I can't just put you on the list. So they all have opted in. And what's very funny to me is I have quite a few people who have opted, even though it is a local newsletter, they opt into it. But again, remember, I don't only put local stuff on there. I also am very clear on who my ideal client is. That's something that we didn't talk about.
Yeah. Your avatar.
My avatar. I'm always speaking to her. So there are things that I'm sharing that even if you're not local, I might share like, hey, this is this outfit at Amazon, perfect for Thanksgiving. I wore it, got a ton of compliments. Like, here's the link. So it's definitely a lot of local things, but it's also like what's really happening in my life. And I'm sharing those things. And so, for instance, I might say, if I went to a concert, hey, I went to this concert. It was great. If you missed it, or this concert is coming up, check out and see if it's going to be in your city too. So I don't have as many that aren't local on my list, but I have quite a few who aren't local on my list.
Yeah, it's important to know your audience for sure. And I like that you talk to your avatar. That's really good advice. If anyone wants to multiply their sphere of influence and define who they really want to target and work with, make that your target and speak to them.
Yes.
I'm more generic. I'm a little bit higher level. I don't have that because I built a large investor-based business network. So I just want to be in front of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sharing recipes or talking about local events or restaurants, but I am talking real estate, and I do a lot of videos. I really like to educate. That's my strength. Is I like to take people that have the unknown, and I'm going to clear it up for them, whatever that complicated issue is. I always like to. That's where I like to be.
Yeah. No, and it really, this is what I love about real estate, right? Is that you can customize it to what you want it to look like. And as I am growing the business and figuring out what I want it to look like, you can speak to exactly who you want to speak to. And that's not to say some people get scared of having a customer avatar because you think you're going to shun off
Yeah,
others.
you think you
But
exclude others, but yeah, and everyone thinks
yeah,
this, right? They're like,
yeah,
you can go to South Dallas and sell, right? Or you can go to Fort Worth and sell if you want to, if the
yeah.
customer fits your profile or what you want to do, but you don't have to just sell Prosper.
No, you don't have to just
And you're
sell
not going to
property.
exclude them either.
Nope, nope. And then you get to decide. And what I find is that the more that I put myself out there, the more that I show up, the more that I do these little touches, what I'm doing is I'm attracting the type of clients that honestly bring me the most joy. And not just in the transaction, but even after. Honestly, Shaune, I probably can think of probably only a few of my clients don't have my home address. And that might not be the smart, but that's just how we roll because
Yeah.
it ends up being community and relational and all of these things. Now I have my own team now. We're growing. So like some things look a little bit different than they did when I was solo. But yeah, I love the way that we're able to build it in this business that again, and it's not that I enjoy it because everybody is just like me, right? But it's just building, it's relational selling as opposed to being more transactional. Both of them work, but you just get to decide what works for you.
Yeah. And people will buy transparency for sure.
Yep.
They want to know that they honestly know who you are and what you're doing. And it's valuable. And I think if you got like super niche, really specific, you would be surprised that you'll actually get more clients because the relationship is so strong.
Yep.
And you get to work only with people you like. And most people just can't swallow that. They feel like I'm excluding all these other people. But you get really specific, then instead of getting 3 on a broad, you get 6 on a close. It actually works this way, and most can't swallow or understand that. I think being local or focusing a Prosper area is a very good one. And you can lead into Frisco because it's certainly next door, but you've got plenty of working material there to promote and create lots of local events and things to create excitement and post in your newsletters.
Yeah, and that's something to be said too. Like I don't only sell because they're also close, right? So I would say that we are really all of the far north Dallas burbs that you hear about, the Prosper, the Frisco, the Aubrey, like that all kind of touch each other. That's where we shine.
Sure. It's a very large area. You've got a lot to cover, and you don't have to drive that far. It's not that far for you to drive, so that all works really well for you. Where do you see yourself going over the next year or two? You've got a team now. You're starting to add people, and you've got a really good system that you can continue to build on. Where do you think you'd be a year from now?
That is a wonderful question. That was a question we talked about in my coaching group today. I truly think that God is shifting and just be how great he is. Like when I got into real estate, I was so nervous about leaving teaching. And right now I'm returning back to the teaching, the coaching, the supporting. Real estate bestie, right? I'm the real estate bestie to my clients, but Real Estate Bestie actually was founded as a podcast and coaching platform to support women in real estate, to help them hit over 6 figures while deepening their faith in their relationship with Jesus. So I am actively and openly like, okay, God, what do you want from me? My ultimate purpose, I don't even want to say goal, God is showing me is to be a light in the marketplace. And now that I get to do things in business or have gotten to do things and experience things that I never imagined after I got out of my own way, after I let go of fear and just firmly planting myself in who God has called me to be and putting myself in the right rooms. And there's so many men and women, but I work with a lot of women who their mindsets are so blocked, and there's so many, from imposter syndrome to the comparison trap to all of these different things that are holding them back. And I know God really wants to use women to help in this field. Buying or selling a house is a really big thing. So my focus is really shifting on how do I support other agents in building amazing businesses that not only support their families, but glorify God.
Amen.
Yeah.
Here's a powerful thing. I want you to think about the psychology of it. Think about where you were teaching and what it did every day and the amount of control over your life. And all of that is gone, and you make 3 times the money, and you get to decide. You're where teachers don't think they can get to.
Yeah, I didn't think I could get here.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have that block, and I'm glad you had that block, because now
Yeah.
you know how to talk with others that have that mental block. They're more than capable of getting out of it, but they don't see it. They can't see where they could be.
Yeah.
But the freedom you have, the joy you have, you work with people you love working with, you get to be home, and you get to choose to be home. You know,
Yeah.
but teaching, you don't get to choose. You're told when you can go to the restroom.
Yeah. And to be fair, there are people there are people in real estate who this business is running them. I think that there are so many different professions, or we think that it has to be so hard.
Sure.
And it has to be consistent. We have to have consistent effort, but it doesn't have to be hard. And I just want to help people get unstuck. I think that would be the thing. So that's what my next year is going to be. Right. And I appreciate you allowing me to be on your podcast, because that's what I am seeking more of. Like, okay, God, where can I talk to people to help them get unstuck?
So a couple things. One, you dove into that space through your faith in helping connect with other women and helping them grow their business, to get them unstuck. And you do a podcast and you do all this training and stuff. But a lot of the things you do, you did out of freedom. You're not directly paid or compensated on a lot of these things. You just dove in and said, that's where I'm going to go. I'll go there. Like, I create these podcasts. There's no monetary benefit for it, but I know this is where I should be, because I know I'm good at drawing out stories and conversations, and I don't know where it's going to go. I'm still at my early stages. You're already several years down the road, and you're getting a ton of unbelievable benefits. And some of it's monetary, but a lot of it is just proof, satisfaction, or
purpose. It's all coming together where I'm like, oh God, I see your hand in that, right? So it's different. When I was just real estate, it was all about production. But like this year, my theme was, I'm done chasing production and I want to start chasing impact. And with that, because God is gracious, I still haven't lacked in production, right? And what I have maybe lacked because my focus was somewhere else, He has blessed me to be able to coach agents, to have events, to just do different things. Where when I took it only from being about me and my business and my success, then He's showing, like, our leader, our CEO, he has a saying, I don't know if he was the first one that said it, but you can get everything you want in life when you help other people get what they want in life.
Sure.
And that truly I've seen that come alive, especially this year. And it comes alive in our real estate businesses, right? For the realtors that are listening, when you truly have a heart to serve your clients, when it's not just about a commission, but it's really about helping position them, whether it's an investment, whether it's buying and selling for their family, whether when people buy and sell houses, they're opening and closing a chapter. Sometimes they're happy chapters, sometimes they're sad chapters. But when we get really clear on serving, then you reap what you sow, right? It's biblical, right? So if you sow in seeds on good soil, then we have to reap a harvest. And I'm just here for the harvest.
We've shared a lot of really good things today. Thank you, Rosemary. You've got a space that you are helping other women and other people. You've helped me. I've listened to your sphere of influence, and now we're a bestie, right?
Yeah. Yeah. We call the guys the homies. You're a real estate homie.
How do we find out more? Because I know you have things you can offer and help agents. So where do we find out information about you, and what could you offer as a service to agents?
Yeah, so we do our podcast and YouTube. So whether you're a podcaster or a YouTuber, you can find it at Real Estate Bestie is both. Well, I think the podcast, yeah, they're both Real Estate Bestie. YouTube, it might say The Real Estate Bestie. Now that I think about it, I'm on Instagram as The Real Estate Bestie, and then I do have a free resource for those agents who are looking to either you're looking to get to the 6-figure mark or the multiple 6-figure mark per year and stay there. If you go to rosemarylewis.com/6, then you can get my 6 steps to multiple 6 figures.
Look at that. She's still giving away stuff. This is all right. Well, I appreciate you jumping on. And man, we went all the way to the end. I appreciate you doing all of this and giving us a lot of good tips and things. And I'm sure we'll probably do it again someday.
Yes.
And thanks again for your time. And I'm going to conclude our podcast. And thank you again for joining us. And I look forward to more material and things that you bring out. Thank you.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
That wraps up another episode of Real Estate Success DFW. I hope you're leaving with new insights that push your real estate career forward. If you enjoyed the show, please be sure to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with fellow agents. who's ready to succeed. And if you're interested in working together or have any questions, I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me directly. My personal phone is 214-228-0383. Let's connect and make real estate success happen together. Until next time, keep pushing forward. I'm Shaune Corbett, and this is the Real Estate Success BFW. Have a high performance week.